Hola, YouTube burritos. I'm back and wasn't able to get at the video this morning, but I am here now reporting on the Leafs Hurricanes game last night at Scotiabank Centre in Toronto. It was the second game of a back-to-back, and although Carolina is a much improved team with some young talent and some speed and whatnot, the Leafs should normally, if not bury them, beat them reasonably soundly. But they just didn't have it last night, and you can blame it on the back-to-back games, but everybody faces that. But they just didn't have it. The first period, they Carolina was the better team, but the Leafs kept them off the board for the most part until just under 2 minutes left. Carolina was able to score, and so what looked like was going to head to the second period as a scoreless tie ended up as a deficit, and I was just hoping they would get to the second period with just on an even keel, because they just needed to get their legs going. They just needed to get into the game and catch up, which and historically this season they get better the longer the game goes on. So if they could just escape any damage in that first period and try and get back and start getting into it in the second, that's what I was hoped was going to happen. But yeah, they gave up that first goal with just a couple minutes left, and it wasn't a good one either. Sparks got the start because it was the back end of a back-to-back situation, which he always gets, and the goal was scored from behind the Leafs goal line. It was just a shovel towards the net, and it just banked off Sparks' stick and behind him, and it was just not a good goal, one that he should have had. Overall, he played okay because he faced 30-something shots and gave up 3 goals in the end, so his save percentage was, respectable. It was .917 or something like that, but still, it was the nature of the goals that went in that were kind of disappointing. The second started, and Carolina busted a power play goal just a couple minutes in, giving them an even more of a deficit not that long after they'd opened the scoring. So they were playing from behind for the rest of the game, and about halfway through the second period they finally started to get going, and but Mrazek in the other net played a really good game, shut them down when he got the opportunity. The only goal the Leafs managed was in that back half of the second period, and it was Tavares, which was kind of the lone bright spot of the night because that was his 47th goal, which sets a new record for goals by a Leaf centerman, which Daryl Sittler used to hold as the record, which I find it weird that they've never had a 50 goal scorer center, but I guess they've all been wingers, so not that they've had that many. They've only ever had 3 in their history up till then, and it was Rick Vaive, then Gary Leeman, and then Dave Andreychuk, and that's all wingers, I guess. So but he's got 2 games left to get 3 goals and try and get 50, but either way he's already set a record, and it would be nice to get the 50, but we'll see what happens. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. And then yeah, in the third period, they kept coming. They tried, and then of course they pulled the goalie late in the period, and Carolina scored their 4th of the game to ice it. It was 3-1 late in the third, and then they kind of blew it there with the empty netters. So they didn't deserve the win overall. They did manage to put up somewhat of a fight in the latter half of the game, but they just showed up too late, and you can blame it on the back-to-back situation, the fatigue. Oh, sorry, I'm so tired. But yeah, that's kind of what it is. Sparks was, like I said, he was okay, but it was just the nature of the goals. That first goal was kind of in from behind the goal line off of his equipment. The second goal he kind of got a piece of, and then it bounced off the post behind him and then hit his pad and in, and so it was just like, you feel bad for the guy because he just hasn't had a good start in a long time. But what do you do, right? You need a dependable backup, and so far he hasn't really proven to be that. And now it's looking like a bad move to get rid of McElhinney and keep Sparks, but you never know how it'll all work out in the end. But and I'm sure if McElhinney had been significantly younger than he was at the time, they probably would have kept him, seeing as he provided Leafs with some really reliable backup goaltending over the last couple of years until they had to make that decision. But now the panel was even talking about last night about bringing up Michael Hutchison from the Marlies as their fourth post-trade deadline call-up, just in case, as an insurance policy for the playoffs, in case, Fred will be playing all the games unless he gets hurt. That's just the way the playoffs go. But you never know what can happen, right? So, but yeah, anyways, it was kind of a disappointing game. But that's the way they go sometimes. And now they have 2 games left, Tampa tomorrow night, and then Saturday the closer against Montreal. And I'd really like it to go right down to the last game of the season and the Leafs eliminate Montreal on the last night. That would be fantastic. That would be the perfect cap to the regular season. But we'll see what happens. And although it would be nice for the Habs to make the playoffs and the Leafs eventually meet them somehow, that would be even better. As long as they win, of course. But, who knows? Either way, I'd like to damage them in some respects. So until Friday morning, I bid you adieu.